Welcome to the final round of the Roush Performance Esports Pro Series. The competitors have fought hard through 3 different tracks to get here, the finale, where we are going to hand out over $3,000 in cash. There have been some bumps along the way, sometimes literally at Sebring, but tonight is Road Atlanta, another North American road racing classic, a track that these drivers and cars should know very well. Let's get ready to watch all of the action right here on Roush Performance Esports. I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth tonight is Jack Roush Jr. We also got the man making our broadcast look top-notch behind the scenes. That is our producer, the bearded sim racer. He also goes by Ryan Bauer. And Jack, this is it, dude. These drivers, it's the last chance to try to grasp at some of this prize pool that you all are offering.
Yeah, it all comes down to this, doesn't it? Pretty exciting stuff. It's the first time we've had cash prizes as part of these esports events. We've been doing this a long time, and you know, it's amazing to see how hard people fight for money, isn't it?
I think it really brings out a little bit more fierce competition, and this is exactly what we're going to be giving out. Over $3,000, but that championship winner, that is a big-time payday no matter how you look at it. $2,000 in cash can completely change your sim racing career around. Not only that, but you're going to get a $250 VRS gift certificate as well. So if you're looking at maybe dropping in one of those new DFPs in the rig or maybe some of those pedals, well, there's a great down payment as well. And remember, Jack, it's not just first. We went through this and we said we don't want it all to go to one person. Second, third, fourth, and fifth also get to take home a piece.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's it's pretty cool. You know, I think we're going to see some great racing tonight. Even for 5th place, you know, it's still $100. So, man, look out for 6th place coming behind you if you're in 5th.
Well, this is the racetrack that the drivers are going to be facing just outside of Atlanta in Brazelton, 2.54 miles in length, 12 turns, home to Petit Le Mans. If you don't know this road racetrack, well, you're living under a rock here in North America. It is a fantastic facility, incredibly fast. These GTP cars are doing about a minute 5, minute 6 second lap times around here. Also, lots of elevation going on. Starting at turn 1, you really climb up the hill and then down through probably the most iconic section here on Road Atlanta, the S's, which is 4 all the way down the hill through 5, and then it spits you out. Turn 6, turn 7 onto the way, that back straightaway, a huge back straightaway where we're going to see upwards of 180 miles an hour in these GTP cars. So lots of passing, lots of elevation, and it's going to be a fast ride throughout this place. Well, we can't do it without any of our partners here, and want to thank everybody involved with this series, including RFK Racing. Make sure to go follow along with team owner and driver of the number 6 car. That's Brad Keselowski, as well as the driver of the number 17 of Chris Buescher, as they race their way through the 2024 NASCAR season. And if you didn't catch it, Bristol was just this past weekend. Both of those cars scored inside the top 10, with Brad's best finish of the year, I believe, with a 3rd place there. So awesome momentum going on, especially in the beginning parts of the NASCAR season. Also, VRS. VRS is a premium sim racing hardware manufacturer supporting many of the top teams and leagues worldwide. Experience the VRS difference with our hardware, software, telemetry, setups, and training. Also, Podium Esports. Podium Esports LLC is a talent farm for highly motivated individuals looking for a career in motorsports broadcasting. Podium's mission is and always has been to attract, train, and employ talent in motorsports broadcasting, production, graphic design, journalism, and social media marketing. Podium brings the excitement of competitive gaming to motorsports enthusiasts around the world. And also, probably the biggest one of all, we couldn't do it without these guys, Roush Performance. Head on over to RoushPerformance.com. Check out the wide variety of parts for Mustangs, F-150s, Super Duties available. They also have that lifestyle, the events tab over there. So even if you don't have a Roush vehicle or don't have a Ford vehicle, there is a place for you. You can go meet up with the crew at all of the different events happening throughout North America. Head on over to that website, RoushPerformance.com. So, Jack, I think the main talking point tonight is going to be all about the points, the championship payouts that we're going to see here tonight. Want to get everybody this points graphic. Jordan Johnson, remember him? He's really been dominating those sprint races, and Jack, because of that, he's built a 14-point gap over Max Muir, who's actually won the last 2 main feature races. So I think there's a couple different varying strategies, but we really got to pay attention to these top 7 names tonight.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to shake out. You know, when you consider the high level of talent amongst all these guys, you know, maybe a setup change will be the difference. Maybe, you know, some mistakes, some hard fighting. Man, I can't wait to watch this. It's going to be awesome.
And you know, I misspoke. It's really the top 8 names there. Pat Pelchat, include him as well, because he's only 1 point off of Cam Bidwell. So I feel like first and second, they're kind of competing against each other. So we're going to definitely keep an eye on Jordan Johnson right here. He's your championship points leader coming into today. We're also going to keep an eye on Max Muir in that number 11, because like I said, he won the last 2 main feature races, and he's only 14 points back. And just to let you know, there's about a 3-point gap between first and second. Same thing between second and third for each of these points payouts between the sprint and the main. So if Max does go out there and outscore Jordan, it is definitely possible that Jordan loses this championship tonight. We talked to him after the last round back there at VIR. He said he kind of shifted into championship mode, not soup mode. What am I talking about over here? And just kind of was collecting those points. And Jack, I hope you were able to understand that Seinfeld reference.
I'm slowly remembering right now. Didn't fully digest it, but I'll have to do some research.
No, it'll be really interesting. Jordan has gotten the pole position. Honestly, I think for all 3 of the races, I'd have to go back and double check it, and he's really garnered that gap based off of winning the sprint races. He's had some unlucky attrition, collecting some damage in some of these main feature races, so hasn't necessarily gone the whole night the way that he wants. Maybe it can be put together here at Road Atlanta to really kind of put the icing on the cake, but we're going to find out. And I think the other big one, Alex Ellis, he's kind of sitting there in the 5th place, but he's currently P2 in this qualifying order. So I think that any of these top 5, top 7 championship drivers, they've obviously brought the speed to Road Atlanta, and now it is up to them to lay it down in this 10-minute qualifying, set that grid for that sprint race.
So I got a question for you, Joey. You know, we spent so much time racing sports cars. What do you think really is the secret ingredient, you know, to driving these cars?
In the sim, it's practice and setup. Now, you can't ask me about it in real life, Jack, because, I mean, I don't have any prototype time, and these guys are the best of the best, and I feel bad comparing myself to them. Now, if you want to talk about ego, yeah, sure, I think I'm the best in the world, right? I mean, you might be second best to me, though.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No, but to your point, Jack, I think that the prototypes, you have to understand the downforce levels, right? In sports cars or even in GT3s that are incredibly popular here in iRacing, they don't have those aggressive aerodynamic packages like these prototype cars do. And I think the other thing that these specific cars offer is that rear brake-by-wire system, which is totally unconventional compared to just the dual cylinder or dual master system that we're used to in a sports car. So I think there's a few things between the aero and then also the, call it technology packages that these cars have.
Yeah, I agree. It's when you look at these cars, not just the technical specs, but look how they behave on the track. It really is incredible, the physics that these things are able to operate within. You know, they're just so planted because of the downforce that you mentioned, and man, are they fast.
Well, I mean, couple it with the tires that they got on them, and here's the cars that we're talking about. So it's pretty cool that iRacing has the 4 different GTP cars. It's kind of a flavor of ice cream, right? You don't like the Acura? Well, go try the Cadillac. You don't like the Cadillac? Well, it's hard not to like it with the way that V8 sounds. Go try the BMW. Go try the Porsche. So I think it's pretty cool that iRacing not only has brought the GTP class, but they've brought so many of the GTP class out here. It's really, really neat to see, and I think one of the things that we tried to really expand on here in this series, Jack, specifically, is kind of pick one of these chassis because they're so fast, get used to them, and then really kind of figure out how to drive them expertly. We do have our official starting grid. Jordan Johnson, I'm not surprised, is your pole sitter. The number 112 car, a 105.808. Holy smokes, that right there is definitely hauling the mail. That is going to be really, really fast around this place. Alex Ellis joins him on the front row, just narrowly missing out. Look at that, less than a 1/100th of a second behind. Max Muir also snuck in there in 3rd. Brandon Hawken is going to be starting in the 4th place position, with Christian Youngwall in 5th. We're going to have to keep an eye on Christian. He's in that top 7, kind of in that championship point scenario. Flynn Lazier lining up in 6th. Blake Reynolds in 7th, another one of these top 4 championship contenders. Ryan O'Connor in 8th. Ray Kingsbury in 9th, and Lance Loomis in 10th.
In 11th, we got a familiar name, Paul Darling. In 12th, John Marjoribanks. In 13th, Cameron Bidwell. 14th, Pat Palchat. 15th, Eddie Layton. 16th, Jeff Evans. In 17th, Cody Crossgrove. In 18th, Rui Pinto. In 19th, Milan Harris. And in 20th, Zeven Shurik.
We got Will Chen back here in the number 17 and 21st. Corey Vervinkt, our buddy over at iRacing, always got to tell us he is from Indianapolis out here. Trust me, his iRacing account says different, but trust me, he is a Hoosier. Also, Charles Hosea in the number 100 starting in 23rd. And Peachy Campos back here 24th. And his good best buddy, Rolly Filgaris, is going to be joining him back there on the grid in 25th. And Jack, this is the time that I like to say thank you to all of our competitors. We had 26 cars last round at VIR. We started the season with just shy of 40. It's awesome to see it, and it's all because of these racers that are showing up to these Roush Performance esports events every week.
You said it, Joey. You know, personally, I'm very appreciative of all these guys for being part of this with us. And, you know, some of the people who are not able to be here tonight. Lots of new faces, tons of talent. You know, you got to love the old regulars, you know, sticking with it and hanging out with us too. Awesome stuff.
And before we go green, we're on the back straightaway. I want to ask you one last question, Jack. Is there maybe a corner that you're going to keep your eye on here today that you're going to say, hey, this is a danger area and you better watch out?
That's a good question. Therethere's definitely some sketchy stuff here. Really, I think that 10A, the turn right there, where the field is heading into, is going to be a very exciting one. Speeds are going to be super high, passing zones. You're going to see people taking risk there. I think that'd have to be the corner.
I think you circled a highlight corner. You're right. It's the biggest brake zone. And here's the action right here. We got a green flag for the finale of the Roush Performance Esports Pro Series at Road Atlanta. It's Jordan Johnson with the whole shot. Alex Ellis is hanging tough on the outside. He is going to get sucked into second place. That is Max Muir in that third place car, that red and blue. Then we've got Brandon Hawken dipping into line as the cars dive down through the S's. Oh no, it looks like we've got a problem up there in turn 3 and more cars spun around. I believe that was Paul Darling facing the wrong way going down the S's the first time.
Oh man, I thought we were gonna make it clean through the first few corners, but I think that was wishful thinking.
A little bit of wishful thinking. Indeed, Road Atlanta can be incredibly narrow. It was so busy, especially going down the hill for the first time. I think there was 2, 3 wide at certain sections. And I mean, it is a funnel. It took out a huge chunk of cars, and we see it right here. There's a 4-second gap after the top 7. So right now, up front, Jordan Johnson, Max Muir, Alex Ellis, Flynn Lazier, Christian Youngwall, Brandon Hawken, and Ryan O'Connor. We are going to be watching really these front 7 as there is a huge gap between them and the rest of the pack here. Here's the number 99 car. This is Brandon Hawken. Really interesting to see him. He is kind of fallen through the order a little bit earlier in the championship, recovered really nicely. And Jack, this is one of these drivers that's competed with us prior on Roush Performance Esports. He's also incredibly fast, participating in some really high-profile iRacing events. Always nice to have him here.
Yeah, really great stuff. You know, just thank you once again to him and all the other competitors. It's awesome to see you guys out here.
Rocketing down the back straight, and I'm not surprised one bit to see Jordan Johnson already stretching his legs. We're going to get a podium replay here. So it all unravels in turn 3. I'm not surprised. So there's going to be a couple cars off. Oh, I believe that was Blake Reynolds making contact with the car, and then he just does the right thing. He just kind of keeps it in reverse out of the way, and then there, Paul Darling actually gets pinched. There is a slow car coming back out onto the racetrack. I believe John Marshbanks went around the outside. I think it was Paul Darling around the inside, and then they both came together down through the S's. And I know it seems really narrow, and you say, well, how did everybody get collected in that? Jack, maybe you can kind of speak on once you crest the hill out of turn 3 and start going down towards turn 5, it really is a one-lane racetrack, isn't it?
It is. When you ask me that question of where the excitement would be, I don't think of those as passing turns. In real life, especially when your life is on the line and equipment, you really, got to be very careful through those turns. You don't really see aggressive side-by-side racing there in real life.
And it's just so tough, especially on the first lap with the cold tires and everything. Just really unfortunate. But hey, that's also part of racing. Now, we do have live race control, race admins looking over, so I know that we're going to be reviewing that, and we're going to see if anything needs to come of it. But honestly, from the couple looks that I had, it was just multiple cars arguing over one spot on the racetrack. I didn't necessarily see any doors being closed maliciously. It's just a kind of a product when you put nearly 30 of these prototype cars on Road Atlanta. Such a narrow racetrack. Sometimes you kind of have to tiptoe around for the first lap or two, get everything moving, and then start to get it underway. And as I say that actually might be Max Muir's strategy, because it was the 112 of Jordan starting to stretch his legs, but all of a sudden, the Road Atlanta native of Max Muir over here, he's crawling it back.
You got to wonder, in these fast parts of the track, I really wonder how far back the draft is working at these different speeds with these cars.
So I can tell you, in iRacing, the rough kind of time is about 1 second. Now, it does stretch a little bit further than that, maybe 1.2 or so, but once you get 1 second behind the car in front of you, you really start to feel it, and then the closer and closer you get, it definitely kind of pulls you along a little bit more dramatically, at least than I've experienced in GT3 and GT4 cars. But these are prototypes. They do have a big old wake out the back end, so you can really get up under that wing and it starts to pull you along. And this is really important. So there was only a 14-point gap separating these two drivers coming into this finale championship round. If Max is able to outscore Jordan here in the sprint, he knocks out 3 more of those points, so it crawls him ever closer to that top championship spot. We're going to have to keep an eye on this one, especially, Jack, we didn't mention that top 8 grid invert. That throws both of these drivers, primarily the 112 Jordan Johnson, a little bit more into championship mode where you have to be conservative about those points. Right now, I would consider this Max Muir's opportunity to go out there and be aggressive.
It's a great question. Do you think these guys are holding back and trying to play the field invert? I don't know.
I don't think that they're trying to play the field invert per se. I think that these two drivers, Max is trying to secure all of the championship points possible, right? And Jordan, I think that he's got a few points to bleed. He's got a few points to spare, but when you couple that top 8 grid invert in with it, that becomes a risky game.
It does, definitely. Yeah, it's very tough decisions you have to make. I don't know about you, Joey, but once I put a helmet on, I just tend to want to go. I don't tend to hold back. I don't know. Are you different?
I'm not any different, and Max is showing that he's not different at all. Made a deep move in turn 10A. We've got a new leader that is Max Muir to the point. Really nicely done. Jordan Johnson went defensive on the back straightaway. Max said, all right, I'll take it the long way around 10A. Was really hard on those brakes and overtook for the lead, and he has brought his buddy Alex Ellis with them. So, Jack, talk us through this pass. This is textbook here at Road Atlanta, staying on the racing line.
So what we're talking about with the draft, Max pulled it off great, and this is a switchover, so he got the inside for the second turn to the right, and bam, onto the front straight. Great pass, great racing. Jordan played it smart. He didn't, push the issue and make contact. He's going to survive here and have a fighting chance for the end of this heat.
And I think that Jordan, he doesn't want to let Max by, right? He wants to go out there and win. He wants to collect checkered flags. However, when we look at that big point scenario, he is only losing 3 points to Max right now. So going in, as long as it stays the same, right? If Alex right here in third place comes up and passes Jordan for that second place, I think that Jordan Johnson is in a little bit of some thin ice area. But I think that Jordan, if he holds the 11-point gap going into the championship main feature round, he's still looking okay. I wouldn't want to fall back any further than that. And we're going to jump on board Brandon Hawken right here, because Brandon is our third place championship runner, and he's currently running in fifth. Flynn Lazier up in front of him, having a fantastic race. Always great to see the Lazier family come out here and race. And doesn't matter if it's the real racetrack or the virtual racetrack, Flynn Lazier putting his name down on stuff. And really, I think it's kind of the top five. I know the top two kind of have a little bit of a gap to fourth, but they're all within about 3/4 of a second, 1 second here. If any mistakes are made around Road Atlanta, the next one is going to be right on the gearbox.
You know, when you look at this series, our vision for this, Joey, as you remember, was to do just what the title says, is to create a pro series. We've had great talent in the past, but man, I'm so impressed with this group of racers out here. When you look at their iRatings and the way, the speed that they have, their control, really great stuff.
I think that a couple of just with what iRacing has put out there in these GTP cars, I mean, it is so dang cool to drive one of these cars. Now, if you have iRacing, I highly suggest for you to go and buy one of these cars and go put it on a road racetrack. If you don't have one already, the brakes, they're amazing. The speeds, they're over 200-mile-an-hour top speed capable. Trust me, they go that fast, especially around Daytona, as long as the track is big enough. The hybrid power systems are awesome to play with. They're a little bit tricky to get used to with those braking systems and whatnot, so it does provide you a little bit of a challenge as a driver to kind of wrap your head around how the car works. But ultimately, when you look at the lap times that these cars are doing, race pace, a 1:06 around Road Atlanta. I mean, it doesn't really get any faster than that. Maybe some Indy cars, definitely Formula One, but guess what? We don't really get to play with those here in iRacing. If you're looking for the fastest of the fastest when it comes to sports cars, this is it, and it's super cool to see on the virtual screen.
It sure is, man. It's unbelievable how realistic this is. I've said this many times before, but I think iRacing is a fantastic tool. I've used it for many years, going back to 2005, actually, when I first started getting into transitioning from karting into sports cars. I was instantly going from a go-kart up against some of the most intense competition from around the world, and I needed help, quite honestly, and iRacing was that tool that helped me get there.
Well, and I actually want to bring in one of our buddies here because it doesn't look like he's running right now. Corey Vervinkt is part of the iRacing media and broadcast team. So if you're ever watching those iRacing streams, whether it be eNASCAR with the College Series, I know that he really is a big part of the PESC out there, whether it be the Super Cup or the All-Stars. Go back all the way to the IR01 series and whatnot with the Turn Grand Prix. Corey, it's awesome to have you racing with us, and maybe you can kind of talk a little bit more about what we're speaking on here and how fun these GTP cars are, because you really are an open wheel guy.
Yeah, I spend a lot more time with cars that don't have a roof and don't have fenders. That's more my speed. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying these GTP cars. I finally got to experience them in person this past September, IMS, when IMSA came to town, and man, that Cadillac is the best sounding car I think I've ever heard.
And so that's why you chose the Cadillac. We had all four of them up on the screen earlier, and I kind of picked them like flavors of ice cream, and you're picking them based off of the sound, and you're right, that Cadillac sounds gnarly.
Yeah, it's a really good sounding car. I mean, I'm I'm a big Porsche fan at heart. That's the manufacturer that's always had my heart, and I love the 963. But man, you just can't beat that engine in the Cadillac.
And I gotta ask you one more question here, because we're getting these live shots of Flynn Lazier all over the back of Alex Ellis right here for third place. And growing up in Indiana, you know, going to IMS, you're very familiar with this Lazier name. Not only Flynn making a name for himself in the virtual world, but Flynn also doing tremendous things in the real world, all following in his father's footsteps, one of the incredibly successful open-wheel drivers.
I got most of my introduction to open wheel and IndyCar through my dad when he worked at IndyCar, and he knew Buddy Lazier, he knew Flynn when he was a little kid, and it's cool getting to share a track with him now, all these years later after my dad met him. So it's cool to get to do stuff like this. That's why I appreciate you guys having me out on these events and having me out here on the track. Cold tires did me in after I already smacked the wall one time, so we're gonna regroup and get it together for the feature race here.
That's what we like to hear. And Corey, you're more than welcome to stick around as long as you want. And I know that the key word recently in iRacing is rain. Rain, 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 rain. I know that he's going to be going and practicing for that virtual Sebring race here in a little bit. So if you guys have any questions about rain, drop them in the chat. Corey's still in here for a little while. We'll put him on the spot, try to make him answer some iRacing questions that might make him feel a little bit nervous out there. But thank you, Corey, for coming and joining with us.
Any time, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
So, Jack, we've been watching these images. Alex Ellis here in this number 5 car, this blue and red, has had a mirror full of Flynn Lazier for the last handful of laps, but we're coming around to the white flag right now. He's got to get it done because Max Muir just took it 1 lap to go.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. It's a little bit of a gap still, you know. Lazier is really showing some great speed, and as I say that, man, it's amazing how he just closed. Whoa, no! Oh,
yeah,
man.
There was definitely some contact there, some front to rear contact on the corner. Unfortunately, Alex Ellis spins around. He's going to keep going, and you gotta kind of feel for Alex. I know that Flynn isn't necessarily in the championship. Oh no, more cars spun around down through the S's there, so Alex is still going. He lost the 3rd place to Brandon Hawken, who is a championship contender. Now, Brandon is in front of Alex by, I'm checking, about 25 points. So I don't think that this is going to hurt Alex's championship effort too much. Certainly not good for the ego, but what is good for the ego is what Max Muir is doing right here. He's made it around already. He's going to collect the first checkered flag of the night, narrow down that points margin to Jordan Johnson, who finishes in 2nd place. The podium will be rounded out with Brandon Hawken, and then Alex Ellis finishing inside of the top 5 as well. We're going to get the rest of the cars coming through. Man, Jack, these cars fly around Road Atlanta. I thought I didn't talk that long, but Max did a whole lap while I was talking.
Oh, yeah. It's, man, watching that incident, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I just saw there. You know, it kind of occurred to me that maybe this was a hardware issue or something may have happened. Just the closing distance, or the closing speed seemed like it may have caught Lazier off guard, or maybe he shot too hard into that turn. I just don't know.
It's a little difficult to judge, you know, the side-to-side gaps, especially if your field of view isn't set perfectly. Now here, you can already see Ellis off of the racing line, so he gets choked up and then wide through 3. So Lazier just nails turn 3 and then just gets into the right rear corner of Alex Ellis. And you can't drive through a car on the racetrack. I understand what Flynn was doing. He was trying to slide to the outside around Alex there, and Alex does have the right to kind of slide to the middle of the racetrack himself, and it's 2 cars arguing over one position out there, and sometimes, yeah, incidents do happen, but I can show you, look, Alex only fell from 3rd down to 4th. I know it's tough, but only 1 position loss. Max Muir did collect that win. Jordan with the 2nd place finish. Brandon Hawken 3rd, Alex Ellis 4th. Christian Youngwall in 5th, Pat Pelchat in 6th. A terrific result for Pat Pelchat. He really showed up last week at VIR, and he's continuing it here at Road Atlanta. Ryan O'Connor in 7th, John Marshbanks in 8th, Cam Bidwell in 9th. Cody Crosgrove rounds out the top 10 here in the sprint, Jack.
And in 11th, Milan Harris. 12th, finished Addie Layton. In 13th, Charles Hosea. In 14th, Rui Pinto. In 15th, Blake Reynolds. In 16th, Steven Sharik. 17th, Jeff Evans. And in 18th, Will Chen. In 19th, Flynn Lazier. And in 20th, Rolly Falgaris.
And across the page, Paul Darling did get back out on the track, 1 lap down. Also had Ray Kingsbury, Lance Loomis 1 lap down. Peachy Campos a few. And then our man from Flavortown himself, unfortunately, had that early incident, Corey Vervinkt. But we will see him back out there on the racetrack. And what's happening right now is we're just going to have a really fast break between the 2 races. We're going to get back going with our main 35-minute feature race. So there's just kind of a little bit of a 5-minute warm-up period here for either the drivers to kind of keep the rhythm flowing out there on the racetrack like we're seeing Jordan and Max and Alex out there. Or it can be time to get up, get that glass of water, take a breather, maybe go back and review where you can get a little bit faster. But one thing's for sure, you better put that full race setup in because we got an over double race length. So you got to make sure there's enough fuel in the car.
That is a very easy mistake to make, and it will end your race for sure, whether it's real life or in the sim world.
Thank you for the reminder, Joey.
Hey, you know what? That's what we're here for, to help out our buddies, Corey. So, let's give a little bit of an update on this championship scenario. Let's bring up the points as they were going into this round, okay? So, it was Jordan Johnson on top. He had a 14-point gap over Max Muir. Now remember, Max just won, so that 14-point gap is now only 11 points. So Max outscored Jordan by 3 points, narrowed it down to 11 points. So we're going to basically have to watch the gap between Jordan and Max throughout this main 35-minute race. If there's only 1 or 2 positions difference between the two, it's not going to be enough for Max to really go up there and overtake and steal that $2,000 away. However, if Jordan Johnson has problems on the racetrack and we see position differences maybe of 5 or 6 difference, then all of a sudden we could be looking at Max Muir coming in, sneaking into this championship all of a sudden and stealing away really $2,000 from Jordan Johnson. And we got to remember, it's a big gap between that first and second prize pool payout. Jack, it wouldn't feel good coming in here thinking that you got it all wrapped up and then all of a sudden it gets taken away from you.
You're absolutely right. That would be a very bad day. Man, it may seem like a big gap, but really, man, it just takes one little mistake, getting caught up in lap traffic or one little wheel off at the wrong time, and that could end the entire championship for Jordan.
And Jordan has not had the best of luck in the main feature races. So I think that he really has shifted into championship mode. When we asked him after VIR, that was kind of in the back of his head. Now coming into Road Atlanta, a second place finish in the sprint, it's good quality points, but I'm sure he would have loved to get another checkered flag, and now he's really going to have to kind of walk on eggshells a little bit more, just one final time, and we're going to see if it's going to be Jordan taking home the $2,000, if it's going to be Max taking home the $2,000, who's going to play that second place driver, if they can steal it away or not. And we didn't talk about it. Jack, our favorite curveball, that top 8 grid invert.
It sure is. It really creates a lot of chaos. Great racing. We've done that, the inverts for a while, even with our off-road truck series, and it really does not disappoint in making a great show. As we're heading into this race, Joey, what's on my mind is I'm wondering if these guys made any last-minute changes to their setups. I haven't seen the data, but I'm wondering, did Max have a different wing setting or some downforce differences for that long straight? Maybe he gave up a little bit of downforce and had more speed that let him better draft Jordan. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I know if I was Jordan, I might think about playing with that wing angle. Maybe not, though. Man, there's some tough decisions here.
And you bring up an excellent point. Another point that we haven't mentioned here is that this is an open setup series. So it's up to the drivers to go out there and really maximize the speed. So if you need more turn in the car, well, guess what? They're making those adjustments. And you're right that if we don't, or maybe if the driver's not happy with their setup from the 15-minute race, they can go in there and adjust that and try to make their car a little bit better. And we've got that official grid for our main race. It's going to be John Marshbanks.
Oh, Joey, I was just going to steal that from you. I've mispronounced his name all these times, and I was finally going to get it right. Marshbanks. Sorry, John.
No, Jack, you take this top 8 grid invert. It is all you.
All right, thanks, Joey. In second, we have Ryan O'Connor. In third, we have Pat Pelchat. In fourth, Christian Youngwall. In fifth, Alex Ellis. In sixth, Brandon Hawken. Seventh, Jordan Johnson. And eighth, Max Muir. In ninth, well, I guess we're just going to stick with those because that... Go ahead, Joey.
No, I interrupted you, Jack. You were about to spit it out and say it's only the top 8 that have changed from the results. Basically, everybody else, 9th, 10th on back, nothing's changed from their results from the sprint race leading into the grid here in the main feature race. But this is what it's all about right here. We put this prize pool on the line. We've had some awesome partners with RFK Racing, VRS, Podium Esports, Roush Performance, and this is what it's all about, right? We've done 3.5 events so far. We've got the half of event left here with the main feature race, and it's time for the drivers to go lay it all out on the line.
Sure is. It's been quite a journey, and man, all of it comes down to this. We're going to know in 35 minutes who the champion is, and man, I can't wait.
Jack, I have to say thank you because my dog, Jet, just brought down a Tupperware lid, so I had to wrestle that away from him right now. Things that you don't usually have to do in the commentary booth, but when you're working virtual racing, you do. It's pretty amusing down here. So, we've got everybody lined up down the back straightaway here. Jack has circled turn 10A as the highlight corner. That was this right here, and he was right. Remember, we saw the pass for the lead. That race dictating change happened at turn 10A. However, it was turns 3 that was really the problem child earlier on, and we're about to see if it's going to be deja vu or maybe a little bit of a different story as John Marshbanks takes the green flag from Barney. The outside lane is a little bit slow to get going, and then Jordan Johnson gets stacked up way to the inside, and we're 3 wide, getting squeezed into turn 1. A little bit of side pod banging, but everybody makes it out the other side. 2 wide up over turn number 3 for the first time, and now down the hill, it is still Marshbanks out front. Pat Pelchat giving chase, and now into turn number 5. Oh no, that was one of the red and blue cars. I'm gonna have to check, see who exactly that was, but guaranteed that's a championship contender. That's Max Muir.
Oh man, that was too bad to see. We'll see how Max can rally back. It's gonna be a challenge though, this far back.
Oh my goodness, and I think there was maybe just a little bit of contact. I think, Max Muir was involved, but this is the race for the lead. Up here is Pat getting really aggressive down to the inside. Oh, almost outbreaks him, but an excellent defense from Marshbanks. Hangs on to the outside, a little bit more contact as the two are wrestling over this lead. Alex Ellis in third, Christian Youngwall in fourth. we have got a whole different group of drivers here inside the top 4 for this one.
And these guys are really racing well. The side-by-side, oh man, you got to expect that through, that first sequence there, going side-by-side. I don't think I've ever done that in the real world. Man, it's super risky.
Oh, and that's really tough because that was that second red and blue Maradness car. That was Alex Ellis. So both of those cars, between Max Muir and Alex Ellis, just not having the start that they wanted. And all of a sudden, this championship is blown open for the 112 right here, who finds himself in third place, outscoring all of his championship rivals, and probably the best opportunity that he's had all season long to claim a checkered flag in the main.
It looks really good for Jordan right now. But man, this is a race. You don't know how it's going to pan out, and he's got to be smart, not make mistakes, keep it clean. Really, moments like this reminds me of something my dad always hammers into me every time I put on a helmet, and that's in order to finish first, you must first finish.
Truer words haven't been spoken, right? You got to make it to the finish line in order to actually collect that checkered flag. But Jordan Johnson is on a mission. I would expect him to stay patient here in turn number 7. Let's just watch him get the exit out. Yeah, just so clean through the apex, really gets on the gas. And now he's just going to sit here in the draft. And John Marshbanks, we're going to see if Marshbanks defends this at all. Yes, he will stay on the left side of the road, but I just don't think this is even going to be a competition. I think that Jordan's going to be able to outbrake him on the racing line here into 10A. He should leave him plenty of room, which is exactly what Jordan does. John responds by leaving plenty of room at 10B, and all of a sudden, Jordan Johnson finds himself in an area that he has never seen before here in the Roush Pro Series. Clean air, P1 in the main feature race, nobody to stop him.
Jordan really made it through the field quickly. Really impressive run there. And you got to hand it to John for, giving him such a challenge, but also keeping it clean.
Oh, and that was Max Muir. I would love to see that one again here because I believe this is Cam Bidwell going side by side, and Max just kind of squeezes him down to the inside. It's a little bit of a posturing move for sure, going down into the S's, and I don't blame him, right? He's trying to secure the place over Cam, but ultimately he was still there on the outside, so maybe a little bit of netcode contact, and then unfortunately, iRacing kind of hooks the cars together sometime. I think the biggest thing was, how did Max not get hit when he spun back across the racetrack? Jack, I don't know how this even happened.
Well, if I was Max, especially in real life, I'd feel like I just won the lottery there.
100%, and remember, he's second in the championship. Brandon Hawken is third in the championship, and Brandon was about roughly 20 points behind going into this main feature race. So there had to be a big gap between the two for really Brandon to jump up. But guess what? That's available now. Well, never mind. Here's the number 99. I mean, talk about some things falling apart at the very last minute. We've had Max fall out. We've had Alex fall out. We've had Brandon Hawken fall out. This is an excellent opportunity for, I'm looking at the second place runner, Blake Reynolds, who has had so much unfortune here this series. It's all coming together for him for another solid result.
All these laps remind me of more like the end, how the end of a race would be, with the aggressive driving. I think these guys are just super pumped up. They've been, fighting hard this whole season, and now, like I said, it all comes down to this, and these guys are ready to fight.
Well, these front two, really kind of the front three, are starting to run away. They're about 1.2 seconds away from each other, and the gap is all right here. And actually, John Marshbank slips up just a little bit in turn 3. That allows Flynn Lazier to squeak by, as well as Ryan O'Connor, and now he's going to get taken advantage of again. Christian Youngwall is going to go around his buddy there in the number 30. So, man, when it rains, it pours. Just got off of the racing line for John, and he fell several positions. Oh, man, Road Atlanta, we talked about how narrow the racetrack was and the incidents in that first race. Well, you saw what just happens when you can get kind of bullied off of the racing line. And honestly, Jack, here comes another one. Car number 4, Cody Crosgrove, is now looking to the inside of him too.
You know, when you lose your rhythm, you know, get offline, and especially when multiple cars are taking advantage of that at once, you know, it becomes really tough. You know, I feel bad for John. You know, he's been doing a great job, and I don't think he's done racing. I think he'll find his rhythm here and, you know, maybe claw back a little bit.
And you know, I gotta give props to John, because guess what? Oh, wow! Holy moly! He is hanging on to that thing. Are you seeing those hands? Talk about some fast hands trying to catch this car, and I think he's got some damage. You see the car kind of wandering a little bit, and that usually is a sign of maybe some steering damage, whether that's on the front end or even a toe link kind of out back. Jack, maybe you can kind of talk to everybody. When you've got that steering damage, not only is the steering wheel not straight, but the car doesn't respond the same at all.
It becomes a really difficult situation, trying to predict what the car is going to do, drive it smoothly. You know, before he started showing signs of that, I was curious if maybe it was due to a setup problem with the fuel, you know, having that much weight and changing the dynamics of the vehicle. But I guess we'll see here, but it could very well be damage that's causing this.
So we're watching this battle for what is 5th on the racetrack. We're looking out the back of Ryan O'Connor's car, and Ryan, unfortunately, isn't in the championship scenario. He had to miss 1 or 2 of the rounds a little bit earlier in the season, but he has come back. He's racing with us here at Road Atlanta, and always rocking that PRE, that Precision Racing League over there. I know that they do a ton of cool racing, and he didn't just show up, he brought a ton of buddies with him. So always love seeing the team aspect. I know that we don't have a team points standings per se here in the Pro Series, but a lot of these drivers, I don't want to call them clubs. I really do want to call them an esports team, a racing team, that they all go out there, they all practice together. And not only do they compete here in the Roush Pro Series, Jack, but they also have several other racing series that they go and compete with. So it's pretty cool to kind of tap into these various different groups and have them come and play here on our playground.
It sure is. You know, it has me thinking too, you know, is there some element of team points that we should consider for the future? As you know, Joey, we're always trying to do different things with our esports events. You know, we've done off-road trucks, we started with sports cars, we've done more amateur style racing with, you know, maybe lower level race cars, and man, you know, it's just a whole lot of different things to consider. We're constantly trying to evolve this and create more fun for our participants and also for our audience as well.
I don't know if anybody noticed on the back of the screen there, that was definitely an oopsie by Milan Harris in the number 96 car, losing it over turn number 5. That is a tricky area here on Road Atlanta, and it's honestly a common area that we see tons of problems. I know that I myself have spun there multiple times, whether it be a Spec Miata or a GT4 car. You get up over these exit curbs, right? Actually, that one started at Apex, got a little bit loose, and then on the exit curbs, and Jack, I'm sure you've seen it, the hook spin out of turn 5 to driver's left, always a popular choice.
I don't know about that. Definitely not fun.
Well, I just grabbed the second Tupperware lid away from my golden retriever. He is up to no good over here, the Lord of Mischief, and we're going to keep everybody On tune with Paul Darling making his way up. And remember, Paul had the unfortunate first lap incident in our sprint race. So he didn't get any benefit from that top 8 grid invert. He's had to earn all these positions the hard way. And I know that Corey Vervinkt is still hanging out with us. We're letting him race still, but he would be very happy to know that Paul Darling here, he's a Cadillac buddy, so he's kind of representing these rumbly V8s. Get that motor all the way up towards the front of the pack.
Someone's gotta, because I'm not. I'm about to get past.
Thanks for pitching in here, Corey. Oh my goodness. Well, as we watch Paul kind of navigate this track, I'm gonna try to find some of these championship contenders. Remember, Max fell all the way back. Alex had the problem earlier at the race. So I'm gonna try to do a little bit of math here on some of these championship scenarios, see if any of these drivers, maybe in 5th, 6th, or 7th, have the opportunity to actually go up there and steal a couple of these points away. Watch Paul Darling here, all over the back. He's got that draft on Marshbanks. We've seen so many of the passes stay on the racing line, and Paul opts to do the exact same thing. The Roush Performance prior champion out here in the esports, Paul Darling, moves that Cadillac up into 7th place position. I can tell you, he's got a little bit of a mountain to climb to go catch 6th. That's Christian Youngwall. He's about 4 seconds up the road. I think of all the battles, maybe the closest might be Cam Bidwell right here. El Tigre, who's chasing the number 100 Rockefeller Racing Cadillac, but something that these two have to be a little bit aware of is the car behind is Max Muir. He's actually the fastest car on the racetrack, closing down this gap quite significantly every lap.
So when Paul passed John not long ago, I thought, oh wow, John raced him hard, but they kept it clean. And immediately John was flashing his lights at Paul. I don't know what that was about, if he was trying to throw him off and try to get him down the front straight. But excellent racing from both those guys. I don't know, do you have any comments on what was going on there?
I think that John, remember, not all these drivers have the voice chat turned on, and we always don't get to talk to each other after the race. So sometimes it's a flash of the lights for aggression, but I think in that specific case, Jack, it was more of a flash of the lights saying, hey, thanks for not running me over. It was nice. Go about your way. Nice seeing you.
I think that may have been the case, but then right at the end of the front straight, John popped to the inside of turn 1, maybe trying to show a threat, which was a smart move. It's something I might have done.
You know, Joey, if that's what that flash of the lights means, then that might be the most respectful GTP exchange I've ever seen.
I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt over here. Maybe we'll get John in a post-race chat and he'll be able to tell us. How about that, guys?
That's fair.
Well, as we saw on screen just a few seconds ago, Max Muir just kind of drove around both Cam Bidwell and Charles Hosea out there, so he is trying to recoup a lot of these points. I don't think that Max is in danger of losing out second place. I think that if we're seeing any championship swings, it's actually from Blake Reynolds, who's having a very lonely race in second place, the number 066 car, because he came in 4th. However, Brandon Hawken, right in front of him, is no longer running here. So he was only about 12 points or so back. So I think the big story in terms of some things shifting around in terms of the prize pool payouts, it's definitely going to be Blake Reynolds, and if he is able to outscore enough to get that 3rd place in the championship, as now we watch Alex Ellis catch up to Charles and Cam. Remember, we saw Max go past these 2 cars. Well, now it is Alex's turn, and I love getting these pictures from Alex. Jack, you do a ton of go-karting. Usually it's kind of the forward lean, getting the helmet out of the air. Maybe in the virtual lean, it's all that virtual horsepower just shoving him so far back in the seat.
Yeah, it does look like he's got a go-kart seating position there, more like an
There it
enduro.
is.
Yep.
We gotta ask him, right?
Yep. Yeah, the in the sprint karts that me and my son race, there's one track close by. Well, not really that close. It's in Indiana that we go to, where draft is a huge element, and you will see all the guys tucked down, leaning forward, trying to get their head below the steering wheel. So a little bit different.
You got to do anything to try to gain that speed. And I think the other cool part, I mean, this is just kind of nerdiness, is we're watching Alex go around LT Gray there. That's Cam Bidwell. So move Alex up into the 11th place position. But Jack, with the two strokes and whatnot, do you guys have to play all of the cooling games of the tape over the radiator and then putting the hand over the air box to get it all warmed up and ready?
Oh, absolutely. I ran a 125 tag X30 engine the last few years, and I did have tape over the radiator, and on the opening laps, I would put my hand over the radiator trying to create some more heat in there. But for the sports car courses, for the tag karts, really the trick is to have these little curtains that you pull down over the radiator, and you'll actually make several adjustments through the race trying to optimize the temperature.
Always fun stuff if you think that you got a lot going on here in iRacing with all the various knobs and buttons and switches and whatnot. It got just as much, even in just a go-kart, right? You got everything to kind of monitor and make sure everything is up to race pace. And speaking of race pace, Paul Darling is kind of fallen off a little bit. I'm not sure if it's just kind of the Cadillac falling off and the Acura is picking up a little bit of pace, but the 199 of Christian Youngwall, he's inserted himself into the picture. He's brought his buddy Cody Crosgrove to party with them. So all of a sudden, Paul Darling went from being kind of the attacker out there on the racetrack to having to watch the mirrors. And actually, Corey, are you busy? Are you racing around? I see you racing, but maybe you can kind of talk to us just a touch. Does the Cadillac stay pretty consistent, or do you maybe think that there's a little bit more fall off between each of the chassis?
I've definitely noticed my tires are starting to go. That might just be me being super aggressive like I would in any open wheel car. So that might be user error, but I definitely have felt my tires start to go here as we hit just over halfway.
And that's pretty typical, right? And especially kind of up to each driver. And we were watching Youngwall pressure Darling, but I think it's Crosgrove that had the position there going into the brake zone. He decides to kind of stay put. I think that Cody realizes that both himself and the 199, this purple and white car right in front of him, are just a touch faster than Paul Darling. Now Cody proves me wrong. He's going to look down to the inside of turn number 1. Outbreaks a little bit of contact. That's going to send him off into the grass. Doesn't make it all the way to the wall, but Jack, he loses valuable track position.
It only took a little bit. Good thing he didn't have any contact with the wall, as you mentioned, but yeah, it's the tiniest little bit of force makes all the difference, doesn't it?
And, it was just that tiny little bit just kind of slid onto the racing line, and the other car was still there. Left rear to front right contact on exit is never what you want to feel here at Road Atlanta. So we're checking in with our race leader, Jordan Johnson. Now, this is the easiest Jordan has ever had it here in Roush Pro Series. If you guys have watched the races with us, he's just had a lot of damage in the main feature races. He just hasn't been able to have the clean car. He's had the pace. He's clearly one of the fastest drivers week in and week out. Just things haven't lined up for him throughout the entire event. And here we are, Road Atlanta, the championship round, and things are actually going quite smoothly for Jordan.
They sure are. You saw the lap traffic there letting Jordan by, which is great to see.
Yeah, that was
job,
me.
Maury.
Yeah, doing the best I can, trying not to, wreck someone out of a muddy position.
Well, thank you, Corey. I don't know how you do it. When I'm behind the wheel, I can't really speak and drive at the same time.
I got used to it racing with all my buddies back in the day. We would all sit in one Discord channel and, yell and talk smack and have fun. And, you get used to just being able to yell at each other while you're driving.
Right. Yeah, I guess like anything else, it just takes practice.
Yeah, it feels like they did back in the old tandem drafting days in NASCAR, where they'd have that radio dial. They'd be able to, Tony Stewart could dial into Dale Jr. and vice versa, and then be able to talk to each other what moves they were trying to make. And it's always nice that you get to do that in the virtual world too, but it's a lot easier being on Discord than it is, having a radio in the car.
Right.
We just got that replay here on screen. So this was Flynn Lazier, the previous lap on lap number 19 or so. Unfortunately got into our buddy Will Chen on the racetrack. And, I can't put that on Will, the car that he ran into out there. He left plenty of room on the inside of turn number 6 for the two faster cars right in front of Flynn. And, uh-oh, this is a problem live right now, I believe. I think that was the 171 on the racetrack. That was Jeff Evans. And Corey, did you have a front row seat of that one?
I'm not quite sure. I felt a bump on my left-hand side. I genuinely do not know what happened. I just kind of got bonked and just kept driving.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the replay right now. So that happened off of the back straightaway. And Corey, you are in the clear, 100%. That had nothing to do with you. That was just a little bit of some side-to-side contact, and unfortunately, Jeff Evans and the number 171 car wound up in the concrete wall. So this is our closest battle. This is Paul Darling looking out the back of his car. It's Christian Youngwall in that number 199 giving chase for 6th place. And I should say that Christian Youngwall is one of these drivers that's kind of floating around the top 5 in that championship scenario. So I think that the driver of that purple car right there is going to be more aggressive than ever, because there's some money on the line for him potentially. We watch him go down the back straightaway here. And actually, the 3rd car in line, I didn't even notice him. Max Muir has already wound up here on the tail of the 191. It's an excellent run through turn 12. So this is going to be pretty textbook here into turn number 1. In fact, he's already cleared them by corner entry. So now Max sets his sights on Paul Darling. And I think that this is pretty important for Max to do. Not only kind of put his foot down on how fast he's been throughout this championship, prove it here at Road Atlanta. Remember, he already collected the checkered flag in the sprint, but I think that he really wants to secure that 2nd place in the championship. If he has another problem and doesn't kind of run anymore or falls all the way down the order, Blake Reynolds is close enough that he could steal away some money from Max.
Yeah, the level of racing that we're seeing here, man, is really cool. Paul, as you know, he's a very fast driver in the simulator. And he's been racing with us, as I mentioned earlier, for years now. And each time he comes to our events, he's always strong. He's won multiple championships with us before. And man, it just really shows what a high level of competition this series is.
To talk about Paul Darling for just a second, I want to say thank you too, because you're right, he's competed with us for years, right? And he was kind of the OG Pro Series winner. Now, it wasn't called the Pro Series back then. Remember, we had the World Tour, and we had the individual, and we also had that teams kind of championship in the World Tour. And Paul Darling really took control out there along with his teammate, and they went out and they dominated every single weekend out there. And Remember what we gave away then? It wasn't $3,000 in cash prize pool, but we were giving away those awesome RC simulator chassis rigs. We had all sorts of stuff from Continental Tire that we were giving away. So if you're thinking about coming and competing with us here on Roush Performance Esports, it's not always just cash. You could actually get a simulator at the end of the day, and Paul Darling has gotten one.
It's been a lot of fun. You know, that world tour really was a lot of fun. In particular, we went to many iconic tracks from around the world. Joey, you know, I think I can speak for you as well. You know, tracks that I dreamed of going to but never had the chance to in real life, including Nürburgring. What an amazing experience that was.
I think that maybe we'll have to kind of bring back the Nürburgring as long as everybody is on board with it. I know that we're always trying to plan our future Roush Performance Esports series. So if you all are listening or have competed with us before, drop it in the chat, drop it in the Discord out here. What do you want to see next out of Roush Performance Esports? Do you want to go oval racing? Do you want more road racing? Should we go hop in some off-road trucks? Should we go back to the club race level? I know, what should we play with? And actually, who better to ask than Corey? Because Corey is always on the new content. He's going to be practicing Sebring in the rain later. He's always on the cutting edge of what iRacing is doing. What do you think Roush Performance Esports should do next?
I am always partial. You know, you mentioned the Nürburgring. My favorite combo with the Nürburgring is the Lotus 49 around the ring. Is probably one of the most fun combos you can do on the service, in my opinion. So maybe some Lotus 49s. I know we love the Ford tie-ins, and those are Cosworth powered.
Definitely, definitely. Now we'll let Corey get back to racing because I know that he's got a couple cars coming on his tail as Paul Darling almost gets into the back of him here. There he goes, and it's actually Christian Youngwall that kind of skids itself out just a little bit, leaving turn number 7. So both of the cars checked up equally, no advantage gained between the two here. So it's the drag race down the back straightaway. Here comes Youngwall. He's going to take a look down to the inside, but we've seen that outside racing line really hang tough, but this time Youngwall is going to make it work. Paul Darling hanging tough on the inside. He's got the inside here down into turn number 12. That is the shortest distance around and is able to defend it purely based off of essentially shortcutting the way around. Unfortunately, 199 had to go the long way around there, so Paul Darling lives to see another day in that 7th place position, but with less than 6 minutes remaining here in the race, he is going to have to be on guard from here on out.
You know, I don't care if it's the real world or the sim world. You know, taking that last turn down the hill side by side takes some guts.
Are you saying you've door banged a couple times down that hill, Jack? Because I know I have.
Not too bad, but man, you got going side by side over any of these hills is pretty unsettling.
And I think, at least here in the sim, with these specific GTP cars, you know, they have so much aero grip that you keep your foot flat and just kind of drive it through turn 12. But you're right, if you've ever been to Road Atlanta in person, you realize how steep that hill is. And if you drive a car without downforce, right, you don't have that splitter sucking the front end down to the road, and you don't have any of these underbody flat trays or big rear wings on the back end. You kind of have to manage the mechanical grip going down the hill a little bit. It's just kind of a little bit of a different driving style than what we see out here on these prototypes. But all in all, this place an absolute blast to drive, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's definitely a great track. It's you know, when I think of Road Atlanta, it's kind of funny. It really looks quite a bit like Virginia, especially that last turn onto the back straight. Really reminds me of Oak Tree at VIR. You know, but the hills here are in some ways even bigger. You know, you have the S's at VIR, but here you have a whole lot of little hills and even some big ones.
You're right. I think that the elevation is more dramatic here at Road Atlanta than it is at VIR. At VIR, you've kind of got the little overcrests up through the S's, while Road Atlanta, you're charging downhill through them, just building speed and speed and speed. So it's very interesting driving this place. It's a ton of fun. And I got to ask you, Jack, is there maybe like a favorable memory of Road Atlanta that I got to ask you about? Or maybe even, since we're winding out the Pro Series here, is there maybe a top 3 tracks here in North America of road racing tracks that you love to go and race at?
It's a great question. They're all so unique. I'm sure that's true for any style of racing, that the tracks are all different, but especially for road racing, man, it's almost like deciding on who your favorite child is. They're just all so unique and have their own tricks to them. Road Atlanta is one of them, although admittedly, because of the IMSA schedule during my racing career, I didn't get to race here as much as some of the other courses. For me, I'd say VIR was one of those really special tracks. A lot of really tough to learn tricks there for really mastering it. Mosport was another, but I mean, the list really goes on. I could talk for hours about this.
Well, one thing is for sure, I'm happy that you listed out your favorite racetracks rather than your favorite children, because I have a feeling that you would be in a world of trouble after tonight's show if you did that.
Oh, for sure.
So this is Alex Ellis. He's chasing Lance Loomis. Remember, Alex had that problem on the first lap here, so he's been charging through the field. He's currently in 10th, trying to take away 9th from this number 66 right in front of him. It's a great passing opportunity right here. Ducks out to the inside, and Textbook really late on the brakes. As long as he gets the car stopped, which he does, moves himself up into 9th. And with a couple laps remaining here, Alex could actually still catch Christian Youngwall and Paul Darling. You see the 2 cars right in front of him. So I do think that's a little bit of a carrot for Alex to go out there and collect a few more potential championship points, especially since he is in the running for the money.
It sure is. Anything can still happen. A little bit of contact, and we're going to see the positions get shuffled up again.
So we're going to be cutting it real close here. We will get the white flag that time by from Barney. So we're going to get the 35-minute race versus the 32 laps that we thought we were going to get in here. So Jordan Johnson sees $2,000 at the end of this lap. He does have to deal with lap traffic right in front of him, but he's got a 3.5-second gap to second place of Blake Reynolds. Jack, this is the half lap that he's been waiting for. He's just got to make no more mistakes from here on out.
I think Jordan probably has this in the bag at this point. No real threats. Anything still can happen, unfortunately, but he's going to be smart. He's just got to take it home, keep the speed up pretty good, but also not take any risks.
The driver that has only won the sprint races so far has had the unluckiness strike every single main feature. You see the pumpedness. Jordan Johnson is your Roush Performance Esports Pro Series champion. Look at how happy that driver is. It finally all fell together for him, and wow, what a sigh of relief for that driver. He is just ecstatic right now.
Oh yeah, it's quite an accomplishment. What a field to watch, and man, Jordan pulled it off.
And you see him stay on it here for the 32 laps here. I know that the checkered flag has fallen. I can confirm to everybody the race is over. There is a few little admin things stating that, hey, you could do 32 laps or 35 minutes. You see Blake Reynolds, he's going to go past Jordan here. Oh, actually, you know what? He's going to line up for the 1-2 photo finish. These two drivers, two of the best that we've seen in the series. I believe that Blake is going to finish P3 in the championship, but I can't take anything away from this driver right here. He's really had to drive through the field every single race from winning those sprint races. He's proved the speed out there. He's had the unluckiness, like I said, with lots of car damage throughout the previous rounds, but it all came together here at Road Atlanta. Jordan Johnson, your champion.
Oh, we got a nice burnout here. I guess the GTPs really can create some smoke like that.
And he has the right to burn this thing down until it blows up. You see him still just, I don't think that he can believe it yet. He was just so happy coming down the hill, coming through turn 12, keeping the fist bumps all the way up. You saw just the relief once he crossed the start-finish line, collected that checkered flag, and he really has been kind of the driver of the Pro Series. He's been the fastest in terms of the qualifying. Max Muir showed up late in the championship and gave him a run for the money, but it has all been that black and green 112. What we're going to do, take a really fast break and be back to talk with our champion, talk with our podium finishers, and give away that cold, hard cash. So don't go anywhere.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, a rightful champion to the series. It was the 112 of Jordan Johnson taking home the lion's share of the prize pool payout and also finally collecting the main feature win that he has looked for all series long. Blake Reynolds also had everything fall together here for this race, collecting his second place of the year. Pat Pelchat, I didn't even notice this one. I am sorry, Pat, that we didn't talk about you more, but he had a podium just last week at VIR and makes it now a back-to-back podium here at Road Atlanta with a third place finish. Flynn Lazier, after that little bit of an incident in turn 6, does recover to finish fourth. Max Muir, I think the biggest story of it all. The lap one spin down through the S's somehow didn't get collected by everybody else, was able to drive the car back to fifth place, collect those valuable points to stay at what is second in the championship. Ryan O'Connor finishing sixth. Alex Ellis also having that comeback drive after the early issues, finishing seventh. Paul Darling, prior esports champion, with us here in eighth. Lance Loomis ninth, and Christian Youngwall locked in that battle there with Paul. The entire second half of the race, finishes in 10th.
In 11th, Cody Crossgrove. In 12th, Cameron Bidwell. In 13th, Charles Hosea. In 14th, Eddie Layton. 15th, Stephen Sharik. In 16th, John Marshabanks. In 17th, Corey Vervinkt. In 18th, Will Chen. In 19th, Rolly Falgares. And in 20th, Ray Kingsbury. And I was laughing at myself because I finally got John's name correct for a second time.
I am very, very proud of you, Jack.
Boy, thank you.
Jeff Evans here in the number 171 finishes in 21st. Rui Pinto in 22nd. Beachy Campos in 23rd. Brandon Hawken unfortunately retired. Same thing with Milan Harris. So those were the 25 cars that participated with us here tonight. And looks like we've already got our race winner and series champion with us. Jordan, dude, how does it feel, man?
About time, right? We finally brought home a feature win. I did say last week I was going to need to just keep out of damage, and well, there we go. Yeah, no, it feels great. Coming into Road Atlanta, I was terrified, honestly, because this was probably my worst track out of the entire calendar. And I think that kind of showed in the sprint race, especially with temperatures being a little bit higher than I expected. I burned things up, and I couldn't keep the car in the window it needed to be. So relief, I think, is the main thing I'm feeling right now, because I thought at any moment I could just throw that all away.
So speaking of throwing it all away, I mean, Max almost did it with you here on the first lap of that main feature. How nervous were you knowing that Road Atlanta is just funnel after funnel going up over turn 3 and then down through the S's, knowing you got to keep it clean?
Terrified, honestly. And I think it was made even worse that there was two of the satellite cars, one way to the front of me and one to the left of me. So I was boxed in from the start. But yeah, I mean, unbelievable to just be able to keep myself clean. That's really was my main goal. I did get a jump at the start, and I thought I could get up the inside of Alex, but didn't come true. But I think for the story of the race, that did end up being better for me, as there was a big incident right in front of me, actually twice, I believe.
Well, I think you worded it perfectly. It all kind of fell together for you finally, right, in the main feature. And Jack, I want to bring you in here because, you know, Jordan is the newest Roush Performance Esports champion. I want to hand over this interview to you now if you wanted to ask or help celebrate with Jordan in any way.
That was awesome, Jordan. Great job. Personally, I'm just trying to figure out, what the thought process was, when you mentioned that your temps were too high. Did you make any changes for the feature race?
Yeah, through the sprint, I realized right at the end, once I was finally able to look at my tire temperatures, that I was really burning up the rears and the left-hand side. So I did make some changes. I put a little bit of traction control in to kind of save the rears, and accidentally turned it off in the middle of the race too at some point. I don't know when. So I burned up my tires again in the feature race, but I was able to get them finally back down. And then pretty much once I finally got that about 2-3 second gap on Blake, I was really just sitting there tire saving the entire race and just trying to keep them alive. A little bit of lift coast here and there, just take the car a little bit easier into corners and a little bit easier out. So overall, just kind of completely changing my driving style from attacking to just conserving and controlling the race from the front.
Well, awesome. Again, great job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Well, Jordan, I just want to say congratulations, man. You're the newest Roush Performance Esports champion. Now's your time. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, of course, Apex Racing Academy and all of our partners, VRS, Computer PC Systems, Stormforce Gaming, of course, ART and SDK Gaming. All of my teammates and everything, they put in a little bit and helped me out, give me a little bit of extra data, which was massive considering we're in the crunch time for the Sebring 12 coming up this weekend. So I can't thank them enough for that. And the support and guidance that every one of my team members has given me, because I don't think I really would have been in the position that I would have been for this championship. I think I would have been fighting for scraps without them.
Well, Jordan, you did an awesome job out there last time. Congrats, and thank you for racing with us.
Thank you.
Well, that was a very fitting champion here for the Pro Series. I mean, talk about the fastest driver really taking home the majority of this prize pool payout. It couldn't gone to a better driver in terms of the performance on the Pro Series all season long. But we want to bring in our next interview. It's actually going to be Blake Reynolds. He finished in second place here today, and I got to say congrats to Blake. Not only was it a second place, but you were able to leapfrog up and finish third in the championship. Congratulations, sir.
That's official. Okay, cool. That's what I was gunning for here tonight. Did not seem like I was going to get that after the sprint race. Some unfortunate contact there at turn 3 at the top of the hill. Sent around the Nitro Circus Acura, beautiful as it is. So that certainly started my night, and I was kind of down. And then we get to the feature race, and all of a sudden I'm lights out. I gained like 9 spots on the first lap, and my goodness, just had a lot of pace, great tire wear, and got up to second.
I want to talk to you about the season as a whole, because when I look at this crop of 40 drivers that we had participate with us, you probably had to deal with the most adversity on the racetrack. At Sebring, you kind of got checked up while you were in the lead. At VIR, you had an unfortunate incident with a lap car and some netcode contact, but I think that as a racing driver, you never let it phase you. And that was amazing to see. What was your focus like to just kind of keep the visor down and keep chugging away? Because it proved a P3 in the championship points here.
Pretty much, it's always been my mentality. Even when I was a eNASCAR pro, just always stay in the race, don't quit. Just get the pace out of the car the best you can. Whatever damage, you adapt. If your strategy gets thrown off, you adapt. You just try to be adaptable. And I feel like through the years of running different disciplines, I've being a Nitro Circus, I run dirt more now a little bit. So, learning a new discipline in the Pro 4 off-road and the Pro 2 off-road, even a little bit of rallycross here and there. It's just, you add some more notes to your resume and try to be adaptable in any way. And, in some ways, like tonight, I would attribute, I had great pace there at the end. I had fantastic tire wear, and I attribute that to my years in eNASCAR, learning to save tires on a brick of a race car going 200 miles an hour at like a mile and a half, trying not to blow the tires off of it. And it does transfer over here, I find. So just trying to be the best driver I can and learning traits and attributes of different cars and just trying to survive and be part of a championship.
I think that Jack Jr. would agree with you that seat time is so important, and it doesn't matter what car you are in, you can always learn something. And Jack, I want to bring you in one more time here with Blake finishing P3 in the championship and second in today's race. Leave the rest of the interview up to you.
Blake, first of all, congratulations. That was an awesome run. I can't say how much I appreciate you being part of this with us. Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Of course. Nitro Circus Sim Racing Team, of course. I saw them in the chat cheering me on. Shout out, Josh. Penguin RC Simulation, Next Level Racing, Apex Gaming PCs, all my partners that support me. Flynn Lazier, Ray Kingsbury, Cody Crosgrove for working on the setup. They fortunately had some worse runs here tonight and kind of in the season, but the setup was good. This is actually a setup from our IMSA esports venture last fall. So little tuning, and it's a shout out to them for working on it and getting it ready to race today.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Blake.
Oh, thank y'all. Thank y'all for Roush and all the partners, VRS, RFK Racing. Y'all, I really appreciate y'all putting this on. I've never seen a championship quite like this, in my time. I'm sure that some exist, but it's really cool that an entity such as Roush existed in the sim racing world and is putting on events like this, and especially for the prize pool that we're racing for tonight. So thank y'all.
That was Blake Reynolds finishing second today and taking home $350 cash by finishing P3 in the championship. So I got our final podium finisher and back-to-back podium finisher now in the last couple weeks. Pat Pelchat is joining us. How does it feel to finally take a sigh of relief? Road Atlanta is now over.
It was intense. It's not an easy track to actually be consistent at, and I really think we as a team we got a really decent result tonight.
So what was it with the last half of the season where you really just kind of ramped everything up? It seemed like you just showed up with a ton of speed at VIR, got the podium, and then backed it up here at Road Atlanta. Was there something that was different between the first couple rounds and the last couple?
I think at Watkins, we really got the set wrong. The car was not in an happy place. It was a race of attrition. Was pretty decent. I think got P5 in the feature, and I guess it was okay. Just getting used to the field. It's at Watkins, but it's not my strong track by any means. Sebring, well, pace was probably the best at Sebring, but got rear-ended twice, and once in the feature and once in the sprint, and that really killed both of my race. I had to pour back to pits, but I think the last two races are it's pretty much more representative of where I should have finished in the championship and just my overall pace, but it's okay. Championship was good and it was a lot of fun.
So I know that you're part of that big precision racing team over there, and always so happy to bring all of these different teams to compete with us here at the Roush Pro Series and Roush Performance Esports. You maybe want to let everybody else know where they can find you in future series or where you guys are racing?
Well, mostly we're racing in the Precision Racing League. That's the league that's affiliated with our team, Precision Racing Esport. You guys can find us online, Facebook, and everything. We have plenty of series, pretty much every day of the week. It's a very nice series and league to run into. We're aiming for IVRA recently, and there's a bunch of other big series we're aiming big right this year. You're gonna see us around, that's for sure.
Jack, I want to bring you in here. This is the last interview we've got of the Roush Pro Series. It's all yours.
Pat, I gotta say thank you for taking the time to be here with us in this series. Great driving out there. Congratulations on your great run tonight. Anyone else you'd like to thank, or any other comments on your event tonight?
I think honestly, all my teammates above anything. Ryan, there was also Jeff and Lance. We had a good chemistry this season. It was good working together and trying to get those results. Also, our sponsor, Advanced Sim Racing, Moran Ness, Butt Kicker, Mr. Edge Photography, and Racebox, big partner of PRE and PRL. We couldn't do this without them. And I think that's pretty much. And you guys, seriously, you guys killed it. It was a great series to run in. I think the format was interesting, and really looking forward to another series around what you guys did. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Pat.
Pat is making us blush over here, giving us all these compliments. So yeah, thank you, Pat, for coming out and racing with us.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Well, it has been a ride, everybody, and we officially have your Pro Series championship points. You see Jordan Johnson getting that victory over Max Muir. So Jordan collects $2,000 in cash, plus a $250 VRS gift certificate to go to some sim racing goodies out there. Max Muir, he doesn't go home empty-handed. $500 goes to that driver. Blake Reynolds, $350. Fourth place of Brandon Hawkins collects $200. And fifth there in Alex Ellis. He couldn't have done it without that comeback drive after the first lap incident. He will take home $100 of that cold, hard cash as well. So awesome to get the official point standings after all of the races here in the Pro Series. And Jack, it's over, man. It's all done. What did you think about it?
It was a nail biter. It was really interesting looking at those points at the very end. And just seeing how close they really were, man. Some of those spots were only 1 point different. It's been a blast. Again, I really appreciate all the drivers being here tonight, for you guys, the audience, and checking it out. And I'm itching to get back to the drawing board and figure out what we're gonna do next.
I am too. I know that Roush Performance Esports is going to be sticking around. We've got a lot of stuff planned in the future. And like I was telling everybody earlier, if you have a suggestion on what you want us to go and race, whether that's a rain series or an oval or dirt track or whatever, come let us know. Come follow us on social media. Come follow us on Discord. Join the community. Let us know what action you want to see here on the virtual screen, because we love providing it. It's a place for everybody to come and play. And ultimately, Jack, not only a place to come and play, but a place to come and get paid.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Definitely a lot of options to sort through, and really appreciate anyone's feedback and opinions.
Well, that's going to do it here for us tonight. Thanks to Roush Performance for all of their support, as well as our amazing partners for the event, RFK Racing, VRS, and Podium Esports. This wouldn't be possible without our team behind the scenes, Jack, Trevor, Ryan, JP, everybody involved. Thank you so much. And like I was just telling y'all, remember to follow along on the Roush Performance Esports Discord and Facebook pages to stay up to date with all of our future events. And yes, there will be more series, so keep the hype at that fist-pumping level. Until next time, we'll see you at the checkered flag.